The health of children in America is changing. 1 out of 2 children currently have some form of chronic illness. As a physician, what I do all day is treat children's intestinal issues. These gut issues are connected to the demise of our children's health.
Our children are sick.
Our children are sick.
Our children are sick.
Our children are sick.
Allergies are up 400% in our children.
Asthma affects 1 in 8 children, and as many as 1 in 6 African American children.
Autism has increased 1,500% over the last 20 years.
23.5 million Americans are now suffering with autoimmune diseases.
Diabetes in teens has quadrupled in 10 years.
Colitis in children has tripled, and Crohn's disease is up 79% in 10 years.
Cancer is the #1 killer of children in America today.
Since GMOs and pesticides have been allowed in our food during the past 20 years, children's health problems have skyrocketed. They are also suffering from immunological and other health impairments.
Moms across America found Roundup, the world's #1 weed killer, in our breast milk, and the EPA allows this chemical to contaminate 160 of our food crops. This is a toxic chemical that is sprayed on GMO food crops and on non-organic crops as a drying agent at harvest to speed up the process of harvesting.
This herbicide is also used unregulated on our gardens, sidewalks, school grounds, playgrounds, our community areas, and our sport fields. Moms have reported that their children have been accidentally sprayed and they have experienced immediate neurological harm. Drift from GMO fields shows a higher rate of birth defects and miscarriages from the mothers that live near those fields.
Since the mainstreaming of GMO crops in America, an increase in weed resistance to glyphosate use has skyrocketed. Because of this, we see higher residue levels in our food. Yet rather than use our laws, like the Food Quality Protection Act, to ensure that consumption and residue levels protect our children and rein in excessive use, we have seen standards loosened, residue limits raised, and important scientific evidence dismissed.
The most widely used herbicide in the world is glyphosate, the main ingredient in Roundup. Glyphosate is patented as an antibiotic, which means that it destroys gut bacteria. This has been scientifically proven by Dr. Caruso in chickens. Newborn babies are the size of a chicken and share 60% of our DNA. Moms see when our children have gut issues, they also have behavior issues, learning difficulties, and sometimes autism.
Glyphosate is also a chelator, meaning it holds or makes unavailable the vital nutrients of any living thing it touches. Plant pathologist Dr.HUber of 50 years says that glyphosate essentially gives the plant AIDS, weakening its immune system, allowing the normally harmless bacteria in the soil to kill it. The question is, what is glyphosate doing to our children?
Glyphosate is an endocrine disruptor. It can cause infertility, miscarriages, and birth defects.
Glyphosate also breaks down the blood-brain barrier, allowing environmental toxins to enter the brain, such as pollutants or chemicals from vaccines. Autism has been connected to glyphosate exposure, and we must do something. According to Stephanie Seneff, the leading researcher on glyphosate, 1 out of 2 children will have autism in 20 years. That's 50% of our children.
How will this affect our future, our families, the structure of our society, our technology and industry, our military? The levels of glyphosate in Roundup found in our breast 760, 1,600 times higher than is allowed in the drinking water in Europe.
These levels are between 1,500 to 3,200 times higher than those shown to cause sex hormone changes, liver and kidney damage in Seralini's scientific study.
This is unacceptable. America can do better at protecting our children. This past May, 10,000 moms called the EPA in 3 days to demand the recall of Roundup and revoke the license for glyphosate. And still, to this day, no action has been taken by the EPA.
Why would this be allowed? There's only one reason, and that's for the profit of the chemical companies. We moms say that a chemical company's right to make a profit from harm in no way surpasses our rights to protect our children. We want Roundup recalled immediately.
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 We want Roundup recalled immediately.
We also demand that the EPA revokes the license of glyphosate and stops the toxic treadmill of untested chemical cocktails on our food. The EPA does not have even one single study showing the safety of Roundup. They only have 20-year-old studies on glyphosate alone from the chemical companies who make it. The EPA does not test the combination of chemicals in a product in their entirety. They only test the one active ingredient. Seralini's study shows that the other chemicals in Roundup make glyphosate 1,000 times more toxic. The EPA studies showing safety are not current or accurate. They have an opportunity to correct this and protect our children.
Once every 15 years, the EPA reviews chemicals to decide if they're safe enough for continued use. The EPA is reviewing glyphosate now. Now is the time. Help us tell the EPA to take it off the market.
Moms and citizens, we ask that you call the EPA and tell them you want Roundup recalled and the license for glyphosate revoked.
Doctors, we ask you to test your patients for glyphosate. How many of your patients who are suffering with Crohn's disease, with autism, with colitis, how many of those patients have high levels of glyphosate in their urine? Please collect that data and send it to the EPA.
City workers, landscapers, gardeners, and school board officials, we ask that you stop using toxic chemicals in our public areas and your backyard gardens. We have farmed and gardened for thousands of years without these toxic chemicals. We can do it again.
To our representatives and senators, we ask you to intervene with the EPA. Please call for a hearing on glyphosate before the EPA makes the decision to re-register this dangerous chemical in the winter of 2014.
In the Native American tradition, to this day, the tribal council leaders are elected by the mothers of the tribe, and the mothers continue to hold the power to remove the leaders based on lack of performance. Why is this? It's because the community trusts that a mother's commitment is in alignment with their best interest. A mother's only special interest is the well-being of her family and her community's families.
And we will only support leaders and elected officials who will protect our families.
Please protect the future of America. Pick up the phone and call now. Call the EPA and demand that they protect us.
Together, we can create a new future of health and freedom in America.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.